Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is April 30th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Thursday, everyone. Hopefully you're having a good day. Hopefully the day has treated you well. As for me, as for mine, it's been a very good day. It's been a very productive day, but I will say up top, I am very tired. We started the day as usual, got ourselves up, got ourselves together, got to work. Nice, timely manner. Work was pretty slow, actually. Not much work, not much action. I will say, though, we have an odd flow right now. I can't remember if I've mentioned this or not, but one of our reach truck operators is out for 3 months. So it's like some days they just don't give us a person, or like they give us a person late, they get around to it late. And next thing you know, it's like just I'm sitting on empty buggies. Like 2 or 3 times, either my lead or my supervisor would radio me and they'd be like, "Hey, Isaiah, how many buggies do you have? Like, how many empty ones?" And I'm like, "I have 4. I have 6. Like, I'm just sitting on them." And then they would have to radio around because literally throughout that entire time, people upstairs were like, "Hey, I need 2 buggies. Hey, I need 2 buggies on my floor." And it was just like, this is frustrating. It's very frustrating. But eventually our supervisor kind of cracked the whip and got everything going. So yay, that. And needless to say, even with that little bit of backup, I still was done by around 2:00. So I got out early at 2:30 and proceeded to get laundry together because I wanted to get it done. I knew it was going to make for a long day, but I felt like this was the universe really telling me. Plus, I didn't have to give out a ride, so I was like, all right, cool. Let's just get out of here. Let's get our laundry done. So I proceeded to do that, get my laundry done. Then, as a treat, I proceeded to get myself some scooters because I still had some remaining dollars left on my gift card. And I got a s'mores latte with an extra shot of espresso. It was pretty good. It was definitely giving s'mores. I really do like a coffee that winds up tasting like a hot chocolate. That can kind of be kind of nice for me. Or I like them really like sweet. I will say, I don't know if I mentioned this on the pod, but at one point they had some strawberry shortcake or strawberry cheesecake. I can't remember what it was, but it was like literally that as a form of a latte. It was very good. One of the better things that they have made. I don't know if that was limited time or not. I was too scared to ask for it. But yeah, I got that as a treat. Needless to say, I drink that. I get all my laundry folded and everything and put up, and I'm so tired. I'm so sleepy. Like I should be perked up. That's why I got the coffee, but it just wasn't hitting enough, I guess. And so I was like, well, it doesn't matter. I don't want to take a nap. I want to go work out. So we hit the gym, and gym was good. I switched it up a little bit. I was able to get on some free weights, and I was actually very happy to just have that be my workout, especially with the changes. I think like to a certain extent, I am getting used to it. And man, like these workouts are hitting when you're actually like pushing yourself. That one set can be pretty intense. So, overall, that was good. We did our core work. We did some cardio, and got out of there pretty timely. Then I proceeded to stop and get gas, which I'm actually kicking myself because I was saving gas for the end of the day. And at the top of the day, there was a place that was selling gas at the Wawa I drive past every day. It was $3.99, and I was like, I should get it. I know that's not going to last long, and I'm like, I'll get it by the end of the day. By the middle of the day, it shot up to $4.49, and I was like, ah. So I was really salty, but I was like, all right, we'll cut our losses. So I go and I get that. I pick up a snack. I pick up 2 Red Bulls, which I'm going to get to, a little Red Bull review. I haven't done that in a while. But I have to drive by Speedway on the way home, and I see that they had it for $4.24. I was like, fuck. So I just kind of I took a loss today. So it goes. Took a loss twice. But needless to say, another Bev review. I got the Red Bull Summer Edition, and I gotta say, it is the worst Red Bull I've ever had. Yeah, I think I can stand on that. And I say that's the worst, but it's still drinkable. It's still fine. And maybe after I describe it, maybe you'll like it. Hold on, let me read it. It's called Sudachi Lime. I'm not really a lime enjoyer. Like, I like a lime in general. I like a lime with a taco, whatever, sure. But I don't love lime drinks unless we're talking like a Sprite. But anyway, the lime isn't actually the problem in my opinion for this drink. It tastes like a barrel thing. Like, those barrel drinks that you used to have as a kid? Maybe you got them at Latchkey or at summer camp or whatever the fuck. That's what it tastes like, but a carbonated version. So maybe that's totally something you're into. And that to me is an enjoyable part of the drink, but it's definitely the bottom tier. And I gotta say that Sakura Blossom one before that was maybe right above that one. Like, it's not much better. But yeah, still a new flavor. I like trying them out. But anyway, let's see. At some point in the day, I did do a stretch. That was during laundry, I think. Yeah, I got my stretch in there. I came home. I had my big old snack. And did some research for tonight's episode, and now we are ready to rock and we are ready to roll. But I figure there's a strong chance that I might not be podcasting tomorrow for the first of the month. So I figured we'd just go ahead and do the roll call at the end of the month. Plus, I cannot remember. I might have, and mea culpa if I did, I might have missed roll call at the top of this month or the month prior. So, hey, I'm not a perfect person. You know how this goes. You know how I do. You know how it goes. Anyway, let's do it now. So what up, my newsies? I love you. Thanks so much for your support. In this case, a fiscal level, but also, just being a homie, ride with me, especially like everyone who's been on this list, y'all been rocking with me for a while. So thank you so much. I love y'all so much. But yes, Stephanie Renee, shout out to Mama Bear. Love you, Mama. Aaron Walden, and then Kira Finsky. And then also attached to Kira, Nail Alchemist. Check him out. And then also check out my homie, Ryan Sculptor. I think they're gonna be doing some shit. Hopefully soon. Hopefully there'll be some performing. Hopefully I got some dates, or for a show or something over the summer. That'd be cool. But anyway, thanks so much for them. Thanks so much for y'all. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup. Hell yeah. I'll tell you what, we had like a summer teaser last week, and it's been cold all this week. I do not like that. I'm ready to be done with hoodies and sweatpants. Don't get me wrong. That being said, I do like a good spring weather. It's nice and cool, not too hot. All right, let's get to the news. From Politico, Congress ends record-shattering DHS shutdown. On the 76th day since Department of Homeland Security funding lapsed, Congress passed a bill Thursday restoring the flow of federal dollars to most of its agencies, without solving any of the policy disagreements that led to the record-breaking shutdown. The House approved by voice vote the partial DHS funding measure the Senate passed more than a month ago. President Donald Trump is expected to swiftly sign the bipartisan legislation, fully funding the Coast Guard, TSA, Secret Service, FEMA, and the Security and Infrastructure Security Agency, along with other offices within DHS that don't deal with immigration enforcement. Now, congressional Republicans turned their attention to enacting tens of billions of dollars for Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement in a party line package. They jump-started the process this week with the adoption of a framework unlocking special budget power to skirt the Senate filibuster. Democrats got absolutely nothing for their political charades and shenanigans, Speaker Mike Johnson told reporters after the passage of the bill. In the in the more than 10 weeks since DHS funding lapsed, Democrats have remained largely united in refusing to support funding for Trump's administration immigration enforcement activities without new guardrails. Republicans, meanwhile, are doubling down on funding those agencies without strings, emphasizing a blunt partisan divide 5 months before the midterm elections that will determine control of Congress. Let's see here. So yeah, I mean, obviously this is good. I don't know. In terms of like, does this move the needle in any way, shape, or form? No. It more or less just gets things back on track. And in terms of like, well, okay, good that ICE isn't getting more money. Yeah, but they are funded. They've been funded. I believe they're going to be funded till 2028 in the worst case scenario. And I know that they're going to revisit this shit by September, if I'm not mistaken. So at the end of the day, they just kick the can on a lot of this stuff. Supposedly there's supposed to be better guidelines for ICE and Border Patrol, but that's giving the same kind of rhetoric that we talk about with law enforcement of, well, we're going to do better training. Okay, but we're not going to do any of the no mask or or the badge reveals or anything like that. It seems like that's just getting glazed over. So really, from once again, both sides, no one's really getting what they want. But we're getting DHS turned back on so that at least people in like TSA can just keep getting paid. We don't have to like have that issue again. So yeah, I mean, I feel like this is largely kind of faded to the backbeat because of everything going on in the war in Iran. But obviously it's still been a palpable issue. So good that we're at least resolving it in that way. You know, does it feel satisfying? No, not really. But once again, you're just kind of, yet again, doing what Congress does best. Keep the lights on so they can keep getting paid and people hopefully won't yell at them. I feel like that's more or less what they're trying to do and what they're trying to establish. But anyway, talking Congress, talking politics, let's move on to the next story. NBC News, Louisiana will delay House primaries after Supreme Court redistricting ruling. Louisiana is delaying its House primaries that were scheduled for May 16th to give state lawmakers time to redraw congressional maps there, after the Supreme Court struck down the current district lines and a decision with far-reaching consequences for control of Congress in 2026 and beyond. Louisiana Secretary of State Nancy Landry announced Thursday that while the U.S. House primaries would be suspended, all of the races, including the state's state's hotly contested state primary, will continue as scheduled. NBC News had reported earlier Thursday that Governor Jeff Landry had planned to delay the House races in light of Wednesday's Supreme Court ruling. Absentee voting for the May 16th primary is already underway in Louisiana, and early voting had been set to start for all races this weekend. The last-minute move means that the House races will still be on voters' ballots, but any votes in elections won't count. I had thought when we had talked about this shit initially with the Supreme Court ruling that, hey, for the most part, 2028 is going to, just go on as is. But Louisiana is saying, oh no, we want to actually capitalize on this. We want to disenfranchise black voting actually like right now. Let's get right to it. That's unfortunate because I don't really see too much impediment. I mean, maybe after the fact there will be some legal injunctions in this whole process, but we'll see. Things do feel grim in that regard. I don't want to be too pessimistic, too fucking negative. Because you could argue, and not to be so doom or whatever, that it's like regardless of your color, pretty much your creed, period, your voice is very minimalized. You are stuck to a certain region, and because of the whole electoral college, it's all kind of like bracketed away anyway. But you would like to think, especially in the local and your state sense, that you do have a voice. But once again, when we're talking about the gerrymandering shit, it just feels like that is stifled in so many ways. And it's like, well, Isaiah, shouldn't you be happy? Like, this is getting rid of a form of tyranny. It's like, but it's not, though. It's not. Like, this is one way that this was, quote unquote, at least helpful in some regard. It is at least giving you a sense of balance. And they're like, no, we need to take that away. That's fucked up. And essentially allowing conservatives, for the most part, to take advantage and run roughshod with this shit. And you can say, well, the Democrats are doing it too. Yes, they are. But largely, this is a money game. And usually, as you see, Democrats are just not effective in it, and Republicans are just really good at it, and it seems to be very disenfranchising one way or another for a lot of black voters. So it's unfortunate that we are just turbocharging this, but it's definitely worth talking about, so I wanted to get that in. But let's move on. This is a story I wasn't sure I was gonna cover, but this felt like real clavicular news. We're getting into a legal thing, so I felt like even more motivated to talk about it. I'm trying to think, just a quick recap on Clavicular. Young guy in the manosphere, look-maxer, bone smasher, maybe did a little bit of meth or whatever. He's really, really, really pretty man. I think last I mentioned him, he had allegedly, potentially, I think everyone's kind of saying he OD'd live on a live stream, so that's fun, that's healthy. I did watch it. That shit looked crazy. Like at one point he tries to get around, like he's trying to walk around, talk to people, like be in this like club setting. He's like, oh man, I'm so gone right now, I'm so faded. And he finally gets like back to sitting down, and he just looks like he passes out, and it's just two guys with him. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. So that's last off where I think we left him. I mentioned that. There were some other legal things. I think he had gotten into some legal trouble for potentially shooting, I think, some alligators or something. That was a thing. And then another thing we had covered, it was another fight that he'd either gotten involved with or something with, like two other women were involved. So that was a thing, like physical altercation of some sort. Needless to say, that's neither here nor there. I'm just catching you up in manosphere shit. From the Rolling Stone. Clavicular sued for allegedly injecting underage influencer with unapproved drug. The Looneytunesmaxxing influencer Clavicular is accused of inflicting physical, emotional, and psychological damage in a lawsuit filed by an 18-year-old influencer, Alora Ziva. The 20-year-old streamer, born Brandon Peters, is being sued for battery, emotional distress, and fraud. According to court documents reviewed by the Rolling Stone, Peters and Alora Ziva, real name Alexandra Vasilina, I'm totally fucking that up, mea culpa, Mendoza, met through social media last year. The suit claims, hold on, I gotta back up. I hit a wrong button. The suit claims Peters wanted her to be the female face for Looneytunesmaxxing, and assisted in her rise online by paying her $1,000 to film videos, for which he wrote the scripts. Peters and Mendoza allegedly met for the first time when he paid for her to take an Uber to his parents' home in Cape Cod. Once there, she claims she was given alcohol to the point of being visibly intoxicated. Peters then had sex with Mendoza while she was knowingly intoxicated to the point where she was unable to give consent, the documents read. That morning, while Mendoza was asleep, she woke up with Peters penetrating her and having sex with her again without her consent. However, the claims of battery and emotional distress are seemingly unrelated to this incident or the sponsorships Mendoza claims she lost when Peters began to discredit her online. The lawsuit specifically highlights a kick stream hosted by Peters, which he allegedly injected Mendoza with Aqualix, an unapproved drug intended to melt fat on her cheeks as part of his promise to help her with her online presence through Looneytunesmaxxing. Mendoza believes the injection contained methamphetamine or another undisclosed substance. Peters has previously admitted to using methamphetamine to curb his appetite. Earlier this month, he shared he would be quitting drugs after being hospitalized for a suspected overdose. He recently stated that he would spend the summer sober maxing. Which I'm like, man, it's so funny that this guy goes so hard to be taken seriously. I've seen him walk out of not just one, but 2 interviews because he felt like, oh, these are like hit jobs. You guys aren't taking me seriously. Like I want to talk about like my philosophy and bullshit on life. Like he thinks he's like some kind of young Jordan Peterson or some shit, which is not a compliment in my opinion, but whatever. But he talks like a fucking goofy poster. So it's just so fucking funny. But at the end of the day, his body is his body of work, I suppose. And, at the end of the day, people are still flocking to him. They're still giving him money. They still want advice from him. They still want to watch all his streams. He's literally lost 2 channels over this shit, and people are still going out of their way to find him. I think he lost his 2nd YouTube channel. I think over the overdosing, the drugs maxing, if you will. So yeah, obviously though, it's unfortunate that there seemingly is this moment, and obviously I have speculation hat on here, allegation, allegedly, whatever. I don't think this is the only person that he's kind of used this tactic on in terms of being like, hey, you should fuck with me, you should hang out with me, you should affiliate with me, you should do what I say, and you'll benefit from that, you'll boost from that, you'll send off of that. And it's like, essentially, he's just using them as like almost like a prop in his stream in this moment for whatever, to make some kind of point usually. And it's like crazy that he takes it to this level of like, hey, we're live on a stream. So that's very incriminating. Like there literally will be evidence that he injected a person with something and God knows what. Honestly, like I almost wanted to be critical. Like it's not like she knows that there's methamphetamine in there or whatever, but who can say? Who fucking can say? Only potentially Clavicular Mr. Peters knows what he's got in these syringes and putting in people's faces and shit. Also, I feel like too, just to kind of once again kind of shift back the focus to Clavicular, he will set this narrative that like, oh yeah, I'm doing this edgy thing, like I'm mashing up my face and I'm taking meth. But then like there'll be other interviews and moments where like you talk to him further and he starts talking about like, it's not actually that. I'm actually not doing this and and he tries to like almost talking like it's like a more nuanced thing and I'm being a little bit more provocative when I'm saying these things. And it's like, are you dodging legal? Are you being stupid? Is this a little column A, column B? I think it's mostly B. Because at the end of the day, it's so sad. This kid was a teenager taking steroids, doing the most drugs he could to look as physically appealing, and it's like, man, like, I mean, cool. Yeah, I guess you have a cool life now. You're making a lot of money now, but it doesn't seem worth it. And especially with this legal shit, it doesn't seem good to me. I don't know. So yeah, wanted to at least once again enter the manosphere. Man, I missed the story with apparently there was a weird link up between Guy Fieri and the Tate brothers at a UFC thing. Apparently they kind of dapped up and people were mad at Guy Fieri and he's like, oh, I didn't know who they were, bro. I wouldn't vouch for them in Flavortown. And then like, Andrew Tate called him a bitch ass nigga. Sorry. That shit was crazy, man. We live in a weird timeline, dude. Oh, man. They closed the Strait of Hormuz and this is happening, man. Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead and move along. I'm sure we'll come back to this case. Hopefully we come back with a resolution of some sort. All right. I would love to say that we're gonna unwind here, that we're gonna defuse some tensions, but that's not the case. Things are actually gonna blow up. So let's go ahead and take our last break, and we got to go to New York, but we're gonna close out with a bang. Now, this was a story that I actually saw on Facebook, and I was like, oh, wow, damn, that's crazy. And then I really wasn't planning on covering it. But then I was listening to the last podcast today, and we covered it on Side Stories, and I was like, damn, I do want to talk about this shit. This shit is crazy. So here we are. All right, from Fox KTVU. New York woman convicted for throwing dynamite at boyfriend, blowing off his hand. She Looney Tunes this man. A New York woman was convicted after authorities said she threw a handmade stick of dynamite at her boyfriend while he was sleeping, causing his hand to be blown off as he attempted to get rid of the explosive. Kiana Waddell. Sorry. Kiana Waddell. We're going to say it's Waddell. 35, of Deer Park on Long Island, was found guilty by a jury on Friday of first-degree assault and first-degree criminal possession of a weapon in connection with the March 2024 incident. Waddell had threatened the victim with dynamite several times in the months leading up to the incident, according to the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. Ooh, excuse me. Domestic violence can escalate to deadly levels, and this case is a sobering reminder of that reality. Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney said in a statement. And I, obviously want to add, I'm adding levity here where you can in these dark times, in this dark world. Obviously, domestic violence, that's bad. It's unfortunate. Things, get to this level, you don't want to take it here. But if your boiling point is this high where it's like, I hate this person, I hate this man, I hate so-and-so, how is it that you've got the dynamite in your hand and the light in the other? That's crazy because you're doing area damage. Like, are you sharing this home? Like, that's crazy. But let's run through the story real quick. Why not? On March 22nd, 2024, Waddell, I'm going back and forth with the name. Waddell and her boyfriend were involved in an argument inside his apartment. So that makes sense. It's not your house, so, you're the away team. You're CT. Who gives a shit? Plant the bomb. Fuck. Okay. Were involved in an argument inside his apartment, according to the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office. After the dispute, the man left the apartment and told Waddell to leave. When he arrived back home, Waddell did not appear to be there, and he went to sleep. He was later woken up by a hissing sound and noticed a flame on the floor of his bedroom. He then realized that a stick of dynamite had been thrown into his bedroom and attempted to toss the explosive device out of the window, but it detonated and blew off most of his hand before he was able to throw it out of harm's way. The victim then ran out of his home to the driveway, at which point he saw Waddell running away. He was subsequently rushed to the hospital, where the remainder of his hand and part of his arm was amputated. Waddell was arrested the following day, officials said. Her sentencing is scheduled for May 27th, and she could face up to 25 years in prison. So yeah, that's a very unfortunate situation. Bro just didn't get hip to it in time that he was in a Call of Duty situation, and you gotta lob that shit, brother. Otherwise, it's martyrdom for your ass, bro. And now he's down an arm. Like, yeah, that sucks. And this is never ever blaming the victim, but I want to know what was the argument? What was the fire that lit the fucking fuse on this shit, man? Like, what did he say? What did he do? And hey, he tried to be like, hey, I gotta go. You can stay, or maybe you gotta get out of here too, but I'm leaving. And he left. And then he comes back home and he thinks like, hey, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to sleep. And boy howdy, was there an alarm waiting for his ass. Hey, yeah. So that's the story. That's the news for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, become a newsie. We can do the roll call, and hopefully we will do it on the first of the month. But hey, regardless, we get them in when we can, where we can. Thank you once again to all the people who do help out on that, fiscal financial level. You also do get access to old episodes that are archived, like that are special or whatever, or any new random thing that I post. Also, I do have a little bit of a notes section where I, every once in a while, sketch a little note, not sketch, I just type a little musing or thing or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So that's available, sure. But yeah, I don't feel like chilling tonight. Why not? We're skipping it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.